Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Courtney, and I'm a reputation consultant at Rize Reviews.
And I'm Tim Clarke, Senior Reputation Manager here at Rize Reviews.
And today we're going to be discussing how to handle public online reviews and some of the best practices when it comes to responding to them online. So just before we get started and get to those best practices that I mentioned, I would love to take a moment to just sort of get everybody on the same page as far as understanding why it's really important to respond to reviews that you get for your business online. Essentially, this is the answer to the question of once you get those positive reviews, now what's the next step? So just to hammer this point home, I've got a few statistics to share with you all. Currently, 89% of consumers read businesses' responses to reviews online. So while, of course, reviews are definitely very, very important, the responses to reviews arguably are just as important. Additionally, interacting with Google reviews, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as the time goes on, that actually factors into Google's algorithm. And we'll go forward with that in a moment, and I'll get you guys some more details. I'd love, though, to get a little bit of information from everybody who's on the call today. I would love to know if many of you are already responding to your online reviews. So if you guys don't mind, anyone who might be joining us today on Facebook Live, you can add a comment on Facebook Live, or if you're here with us on Zoom today, you can pop into the chat and just let us know a quick yes or no as far as whether or not you are already practicing this. Wonderful. Thank you. And as those answers come in, I appreciate everybody who's sharing. This is really helpful for us. We'd love to know, how quickly you're normally responding to reviews, whether that be, once a week or on a daily basis or within a certain time frame when reviews come in. That would be helpful. Awesome. I'm seeing some really great responses coming in. I see a lot of you already doing this, so that's really great. And then if you guys have some insight that you'd be willing to share about what percentage of reviews you are responding to, some sort of rough number, whether maybe it's 100%, maybe you're responding to every single review that is coming in, and that's wonderful. Maybe you're only responding to a couple. Awesome. I'm seeing some good answers here across the board. And I'm glad that we have lots of like-minded folks here who already see the value in reviews. And things of that nature. So thank you guys all for sharing. All right, so I would actually like to take a moment to introduce Tim, one of our panelists today. He's our Senior Reputation Manager, as he said. So he actually works alongside me, and I'm a reputation consultant in sales. And then we also have Marissa, who is our wonderful customer support specialist. And what Tim does is he handles partnerships and acts as a liaison between Rize and then some of our larger multi-location clients. And since all of you will be getting a copy of this presentation, for all of you who joined today, his LinkedIn is also available in case you'd like to connect with him and ask any questions about reputation management. And just to give you a quick overview of Tim's educational background, he is a business whiz. He also is not only well-versed in business practices here in the US, but also abroad. So if any of you who've joined us today are from outside of the US, Tim has a lot of knowledge about the business space globally as well. And then just to give you some idea of what Tim has done already in this space, he's got 7 years of digital marketing experience total with Thrive and Rize. And then prior to his time here with us, he actually had some experience with online directories. And again, just to hammer home, he's got that international business experience, which is wonderful, a wonderful addition to our team. And now he's been exclusively focused on the importance of online reviews and how that plays into SEO and digital marketing. And that's been for his last 2 roles. And he became our senior manager back in 2019. Previously, he was doing what I do on the team. And he's been with the team for now 2 years.
Thank you, Courtney, for that really kind introduction. I appreciate it. So just a little bit about Courtney. She is our reputation consultant. So she takes a very consultative approach to every client or potential client that we speak to, and she's heavily involved in all the strategy around reviews and reputation management. She also spends a lot of her time working on client onboarding, improving and maintaining relationships with our future and existing clients. And also there's a LinkedIn link there too, if you'd like to connect with her. and a little bit about her educational background. She's has a BA in applied psychology and economics from University of Illinois, Chicago. Dean's List 5 of 8 semesters, so definitely probably got better grades than me, which is good. And she is working towards her MA and MBA from Roosevelt University, probably going to be awarded that next year. So she stays very busy because she's working full-time and studying full-time as well. And she's getting a dual degree, not only the MBA, but also an MA in industrial and organizational psychology. Oops. And just a little bit more about her personally. She's very dedicated to volunteering, especially for the Special Children's Charities and Special Olympics Chicago. She's been doing that for the majority of her life since 2002. And she's also has a lot of experience in the psychology and healthcare fields, which is really helpful for us because we have a lot of healthcare clients, and she's really knowledgeable about how that world works. She moved, though, into digital marketing 4 years ago and has worked in digital presence consulting, B2B and B2C sales, as well as some social media, and then obviously at Rize, reputation management. And I've had the pleasure to work with her for almost a year now, and she was promoted from the support role to the reputation consultant role. And so we wanted to do a brief activity here because we want to actually do some hands-on learning and share best practices. So go ahead, hopefully you all can see this here. This is an example of a recent 5-star, very positive, glowing review. So what we would like everybody to do is take a look for a couple minutes, read this over, and then feel free to email us a proposed response to this feedback. And you can also chat it if you prefer. And as soon as we reconvene and talk about it, we'll also give some feedback on those and talk about best practices. So we'll take a couple minutes here. Okay, so just moving on to kind of talk about best practices here. So this is pretty straightforward, but it's all it all helps itself, meaning the more that you respond to your positive reviews, the more that you encourage more positive reviews. And so just a couple best practices here. One key that we've seen in a lot of our review response clients love is if you can actually mention the client's first name in that review response, because then it's personalized. It shows that you read the review, and unless it's maybe medical where HIPAA regulations forbid you from using names, it's a wonderful idea to go ahead and do that. We don't suggest anything too long. Honestly, the positive review responses are the fun ones. They're the ones that most people have no issues sending. It's really about not taking a cookie cutter approach and just copying and pasting canned responses, because we've seen a lot of bigger companies especially do that just to save time and effort. But what I always recommend besides using the name is just refer to something unique about specifically from the review that you're responding to. So for example, in this great response here from one of the residential management clients, they specifically recommended the management team and staff. And especially when you're getting a review that is positive about the staff or a particular person in the company, it's great to mention that in the response. And then obviously you're going to want to send this to that team to make them feel good and know that they're appreciated. And so a couple of sentences is great. Also, one thing we recommend is mention the name of your company or the name of your company in that location in the responses, because then it signifies to Google that they should take that into account for their local search results and take it into account for their algorithm. And so if you can have reviews and review responses around, you know, Copper Ridge, excellent service, or Copper Ridge, wonderful management team, that's definitely going to help you in Google results. The one below we added just because this is a medical client, and like I said, the rules are a bit different. You don't want to mention the name. You don't want to mention any health history or anything personal like a case number, but you still want to thank them and be very positive, but also mention the thing that they recommended in their review. And so this is another one from just a little while ago that we'd like to show as an example. But anyway, let me pass it over to, sorry, one more here before I pass it back to Courtney. So this is another example of a review, although this is a bit different. And this is something that a lot of our clients and potential clients ask about. It is actually okay under Google rules and most review site rules to get reviews from past employees, partners, neighbors. The key is you just want to add a disclaimer or a transparent message like this that mentions that you're not a client or customer, you haven't tried the service, but you can recommend them either from an employee capacity or a professional partner capacity. And this is a great way, especially for new businesses or startups who may not have a lot of customers, to get reviews that still help the scores and they help generate new business, et cetera. But we're also following Google's rules. And so on this one, you can see not only are they mentioning his name and thanking him, but they're mentioning the location because they want to have a little SEO, local SEO boost. And they're showing that they read his review closely, and they're also giving themselves a little pat on the back for the customer service and product knowledge. Okay, over to Courtney.
Great, thanks so much, Tim. So now our next activity is not going to be quite as much fun, I would say, as the positive review activity, but of course, negative reviews are, just an unavoidable truth sometimes. Unfortunately, you can't make everybody happy all the time, but it's really important to be mindful about how you do engage with unhappy customers, because a lot of the time, those negative reviews that people are looking at, they, like I said, they might be unavoidable to an extent, but how you respond can definitely leave an impact on those who are reading. So I'd love for you guys to just read this, same thing like we did for the positive review earlier on. If you could just take a couple of minutes to craft a response to this particular review, and feel free to chat it, or if you'd like personalized feedback on your response, you can also email us at the email provided in the slide. So I'll give you guys just a couple minutes to do that. All right, we'll wrap up in another 30 seconds or so here. I'm seeing a good one here. Awesome, thank you to Nadine on Facebook for your submission here. That looks great. And Nadine, you touch on a very important point that we'll be getting to shortly. All right, so we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more now and dive deeper into best practices for negative reviews specifically. So a couple of things I want to touch on: timely response. Timely response is important across the board, whether the feedback is positive or negative, but that is especially so when it comes to negative feedback. So one thing, if you are going to take one phrase out of this, I sort of gave you a little bit of a hint on the last slide. If you take one phrase out of one takeaway from how to respond to negative reviews, I would say it should be short and sweet. Less is more, something along those lines, whatever is easier for you to remember. Nadine actually was kind enough to share some insight that we definitely agree with and want to encourage here as well. Taking that issue offline and off of that public platform is absolutely the direction that you want to take these reviews. So encouraging off-platform escalation. Some examples of that would be providing a customer care line or email address, just to indicate and signal to folks who might be reading that, you're not just apologizing for their experience, but you're saying this is not where the conversation ends. We are going to make it right off the platform and take care of the issue moving forward, so that and taking steps to prevent it from happening again. And very important to not get into a war of words on a public platform that can definitely be seen as, very unprofessional. While we completely understand that, it can be very emotional experiencing, getting a negative review, and sometimes it can be difficult not to take it personally. It's very important not to reflect that in your responses, and definitely keep everything as professional and brief as possible. Additionally, just as a heads up to especially our clients who might work in a field where protected information is exchanged, definitely be very cautious about divulging any protected or otherwise private info about a customer or client who might be leaving a review. And so just to give you guys a perfect example of this, this is a telecom client, and they, someone obviously was unhappy for whatever reason. And, the person in the review did not actually disclose what the reason was, specifically that they were unhappy with their experience. So that's a perfect way to sort of segue into, we'd love more details about, what went wrong with your experience, and we want to resolve it. So, please, they did exactly the right thing here as far as that response. Customer care line is here, so that we're going to take care of this offline. So if I'm a person reading this, I'd be like, okay, great. So as not everyone's going to leave a positive review, but this company at least takes those steps to make sure that they know who to contact if they want to further engage in the discussion offline. So I would also love to gain some insight into what different industries you all are working in. So I have a little corresponding letter, or if you want to just type in what industry you work in, and if H is where you are, you fall under the other category. We'd love to hear what industry you are, and that helps us learn. So appreciate those of you who are already typing in some answers. Say, comments or on Facebook Live or here in the Zoom chat would be wonderful. Perfect. Thank you, guys. I see we got folks all across the board here, and I love to see that. We really like to work with people from all different industries. All right. Thank you guys so much for that. And I'm going to let Tim take over for a little bit here.
Thank you, Courtney. So we like to basically name our approach the human touch. And the reason for that is there's really no replacement rather than just using human writers for all the responses. And so we still manually write 100% of our responses. Besides Courtney and myself, we also have Marissa and Edgar here who do a lot of the writing, and we work 365 days a year, including holidays. The reason for that is a lot of businesses, they're getting most of their transactions and reviews during the weekend and holidays, especially restaurant, a lot of retail. And it's really important that if a review comes in that's really negative, let's say on a Friday night, that we don't wait until Monday to actually respond. Sometimes that's far too late. Also, when you have real writers who are working with the team, we can save our clients a lot of time and effort, but also they can help train us on their brand voice so that over time we get much better at actually responding on behalf of the client, and we're able to basically be enmeshed in their organization like one of their own employees. And what we've seen, because this is the conversations we're having, often businesses are using canned responses, so basically just copying and pasting responses. And this really isn't the best practice, because people who pay attention to your reviews are going to know that after just looking at it for a couple of minutes. And it gets really stale as well. And so more and more businesses are doing the custom written review responses, either in-house or hiring a team like us. And so that's, a very unique service. We haven't seen a lot of other companies doing this, but really the reason we added this service, I believe late last year, was we just had so much demand from the clients that we were helping get more 5-star reviews to provide that end of the cycle process that we started adding it, and recently we've been adding more clients. So just a snapshot of some of our review response clients now. We have a very large property management company. I believe they're up to almost 30 locations now. So we do 24-hour weekday response time. We have people in multiple time zones manning that and writing responses at all times of day, Monday to Friday. So typically we're getting 5 to 10 incoming reviews per day for this client and responding to, I believe, all the negatives, obviously, and about 75% of the positives. And so we've been really successful with them for 7 or 8 months, and they've added additional locations. to the service. And we've also started generating new positive reviews for them, which, although it creates more work for the writing team, it's increasing their scores and engagement. So that's been a real big success story. And there's a case study for that client coming soon on our website as well. We also work with a multi-location hospital system, several hospitals there. And obviously medical review responses are quite sensitive. A lot of times it deals with childbirth, really serious health problems. People are extremely emotional. I think a couple of you at least are in the healthcare industry, so you probably know this. And we have to follow HIPAA guidelines. We cannot use names, health history, patient information, anything of that sort. But the positive ones are always easier. We basically say something polite and we pass the nice feedback on to the correct nurse or doctor or staff member. The negatives, though, are a lot more sensitive. And really there, again, it's a case of escalating the review and trying to get that offline and getting a phone call between the hospital staff and that unhappy patient. We also work with 3 multi-state telecom providers, and they're generally getting maybe 2 reviews a day on most days. And we're responding to all their reviews within 1 business day. And typically those clients are responding to 100% of reviews. And one thing that we've been doing for one of them in particular that's new but really exciting is we're also handling, besides the Google reviews and the Facebook reviews and Yelp, we're also handling Nextdoor.com. So Nextdoor.com has comments and recommendations. It's not, 1 to 5 stars like the review sites, but it's really important, especially for local marketing and local SEO. So we monitor that and respond to all reviews within 1 business day. And they typically get a couple of those per week as well. So now I'll pass it back to Courtney.
Thank you, Tim. So just to give you guys a nice overview of some review response best practices, some of which we've already talked about. 24 to 48 hour response time is what we recommend, regardless of the industry in which you work. Just because it shows a sense of urgency. It also shows that you are actively monitoring your reviews and you are invested in your online reputation. So it's just a good signal to anybody who might be reading those reviews and deciding whether or not they want to engage with your business. And Tim touched on this briefly, where we definitely think that the best practice is always respond to 100% of negative reviews, and we say about 75% of positive reviews. And just to sort of elaborate a little bit on, how you sort of determine which of your positive reviews to respond to. A perfect example would be, let's say somebody leaves you a 5-star review, but they don't include any content alongside the 5-star review. That one might not warrant a response the way that, the example one that we showed you earlier, where the person, was just so happy and left very thoughtful feedback or mentioned staff members by name. Those types of reviews definitely would warrant a response. And and also if you're responding to 100% of your positive reviews with something similar, especially if that review doesn't have any content, it doesn't look quite as genuine, like Tim was discussing with canned responses and things of that nature. So definitely helps to be a little bit choosy as far as when you are responding to those positive reviews. And then I really like to hammer home this point about escalating any issues that come up within a negative review off the public forum, by including that contact information, something tangible that people can see, not just we're going to address this with you offline, but really it's definitely a really important component to include that customer care email or phone number or whatever the case may be. And also avoiding that back and forth or war of words, as we discussed before. And then one other thing too that I also like to touch on, because we do get this question a lot, especially for our folks who handle sensitive information. And like Tim said, where some of these negative reviews might be very, very emotional in nature. Sometimes it comes up where there is false information, or people are mentioning legal claims or things that are going on that really shouldn't be mentioned on a public forum. There's actually some more information on our blog about this, but just because it is a question that we get often, I did want to touch on it. You do have the ability to flag them, and if you wanted to read up a little bit more about that, if it's pertinent to your industry, we have that information, and when we share this presentation with you, you'll be able to follow that link. And another thing, and another reason that we always like to ask folks who participate in our webinars, and again, we appreciate you all being here and providing us with such a diverse range of industries here, just in this webinar alone. We do create custom strategies and take that consultative approach, because we know that not all businesses review response needs are created equal, so to speak. Everybody's business is unique, even within the same industry. Different people have different numbers of reviews that are coming in. So volume might be different. Your customer demographic might be different. How large your business is, whether you have multiple locations that you're needing to address. So we always like to make sure that all of the pricing and everything, as well as the front end work that we're doing is, custom to you. And so that we're only doing what you need specifically. So it's not a one size fits all approach that we're going to take to review response from business to business. And just a couple of key notes here about what would come in a service subscription to our review response service here at Rize. In addition to that custom strategy and pricing, you would also have access to your dashboard and these review monitoring alerts, which what that does is it actually allows you to be notified almost in real time when a new review is published, whether it's positive or negative, which allows for quick action and quick notice on your part. So if we were to be responding to a review, for example, that were negative and required that additional offline escalation, you'd be notified of it so that you can nip that issue in the bud and hopefully get to the bottom of it in a timely manner. Additionally, one thing, we do specialize in working with multi-location businesses. So we are always happy to monitor multiple locations and multiple businesses. So, that there's really no job too big or too small for us as far as how many reviews are coming in and how many business locations you have. All right, and then lastly, I'd love to do just a quick recap here. So those items that you see on the left here, boosting your local rankings. One thing actually that I didn't touch on earlier is that Google's support page itself actually elaborates a little bit on some of the importance behind not just review generation in general, but also that response. But again, like Tim said, that definitely, there is definitely a link to boosting your SEO by way of engaging with your customers within the review platforms. And that also helps with, customer engagement and maintaining that brand control. So you're controlling the conversation that's happening online about your business and about your customer's experience. Another thing that we see a lot of the time is you may actually even be able to turn a client's negative experience into a positive one in the long term. So, if a disgruntled customer comes to you with this negative feedback, you acknowledging it, you taking care of the issue might actually even convert to a positive review down the road. Google has a feature actually within the reviews that if you're a client who's left a review, you can update that review and follow up. So we've seen those stories, come full circle, and we've seen people actually, sort of retract, their earlier comments or say, hey, yeah, I did have this issue, but, the business owner was so wonderful in handling it that, they've earned my business in the future, or, I would recommend them to my family and friends. So that's establishing that positive branding and getting those stories, those sort of negative to positive stories can also be very impactful for folks who are reading your reviews online. And additionally, just to sort of reiterate what Tim was saying about the human touch, really keeping that customized and very personalized approach to how you are handling responses can definitely make a huge difference to people who are reading it, definitely increases the trust that those customers have in you, and definitely would help you both to keep your brand's unique voice in line with those responses, as well as just really instilling that confidence. And this is just here. We'd love to see if any of you are interested in learning a little bit more information. You can chat, whether you'd like to schedule a demo with us, if you'd like to go a little bit more in depth and take a look at our platform, or if you'd like some information at a later time. And then I do know that we have a couple of our current happy clients with us today, and we thank you all for being here too. We'd love to essentially, our philosophy here at Rize is that we know that business owners are wearing many different hats a lot of the time, and really taking as much off of your plate as possible is what we aim to do with our service, so that now we're seeing businesses are opening again, and we're seeing that summer fun is on the horizon. So we'd love to be able to take, online reputation management and review response off of your plate this summer. Perfect. So I just wanted to see if there were any questions. Somebody did ask a little bit earlier on in the webinar whether, we work with, aside from Google, because obviously that was the main focus of the webinar today, if we work with other listing sites such as Facebook, Yelp, Airbnb, TripAdvisor, and things like that. And the answer is yes, that we do. So we both monitor and help generate reviews on a wide multitude of platforms, that some industry specific, some more general, but any listing site that you're interested in, we can help you with. And then were there any other questions today? Want to make sure that we get to any of those before we close out today. Perfect. And yes, thank you to those of you who have expressed interest in some follow-up and some more information. We'll definitely be getting that out to you. We also just got another question in. How do you respond to clients that have already agreed to a solution on a negative experience, but then still decide to, go forward with a negative review? Definitely, the short answer to that would be, still, no matter what the case, keep it short, keep it sweet. Definitely continue to escalate it off the platform. You can even say something to the effect of, we are in the process of working on this issue with you, offline, and we would love to continue to work with you. If you have additional concerns that have arisen since the last time we spoke, please feel free to give us a call here. Something, that you're not saying, hey, we're already taking care of this for you, why are you leaving this review? But instead just saying, oh, is there more to the story? Is there more that you need to share? And again, inviting that that conversation to happen offline once again would be the best way to do it. So you're addressing that, oh yeah, we are currently working with you on this, but if there's more or there's anything else we can help with, here's how you can do that, and here's how we can continue that conversation. You ever, I see another question come in, are you ever able to get fake reviews deleted? So we actually, a couple of different things that we do to assist with, the occasional false review. Maybe a competitor is out to get you guys, and it does happen. We see it, unfortunately, where there are reviews left by people who weren't really customers of yours and are just having, they want to take it out on you negatively in a place where it is visible, like on a review platform. And just a couple of things on this note, through our review generation campaigns, there is that information earlier on in the webinar when it comes to flagging reviews, whether they be false or because they mention information that they shouldn't. We do have a blog post on that and some of the things that you can do internally and that we can help you with in order to get false reviews removed. And we also take a proactive approach to this as well. So, if there's a negative review that's haunting you, whether it's a false one or, a genuine one, because every now and again, there are people who aren't pleased for whatever reason, we try to bury those negative reviews with more positive reviews so we can help you with review generation campaigns. And then lastly, we also have a partner called Objection Co, and they actually have a software that can detect false reviews and things of that nature. So if you wanted more information about their service, I'd be happy to reach out to you as well. Perfect. And then any other additional questions?
I was just going to offer to Landon and anybody else, if you have specific questions about flagging reviews or help removing them, you could simply email info@risereviews.com, and we have how-to guides as well as the blog post mentioned. So we can walk you through it and send you best practices, but it's something you can do on your side.
Perfect. Well, I'm not seeing any additional questions come in. Don't think there's any more coming in on Facebook Live either at this time, but if there's a question that comes up after the fact, you are also more than welcome to email that info@risereviews.com email address. We'd be happy to address any questions that come up, after we all get off this call here. And again, connecting with myself and Tim on LinkedIn is another great way to get any questions answered or, just to sort of correspond with regard to anything review and online reputation management related. All right, so if there's nothing else, I would love to just take a moment again to thank everybody for being here and for joining us today. We hope that you found this information valuable, and we will also, you will also get a copy of this presentation for future reference as well. So thank you to everybody here on Zoom and everybody on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us here at Rize, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.